joining. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the Nepean Capital India Leadership Series podcast. I request all of you to remain on mute until the end when we get into the Q&A session. Today, we're happy and lucky to have Puneet Chhatwal, the CEO of Indian Hotels. That's India's largest hotel chain with a market cap now that's crossed 1 lakh crores, or should I say a total of $13 billion. Puneet joined the Indian Hotel Company as the MD and the CEO back in November of 2017. He has over 3 decades of leadership experience at some of the biggest hotel chains in Europe and North America. Prior to Indian Hotels, Puneet was the CEO and member of the executive board of Steigenberger Hotels. I hope I said that right, Puneet. And also was the chief development officer at Residor Hotels, part of the Carlson Hotels Group worldwide. So Puneet, the way we're going to run this is we'll have a fireside chat, and I wish we were meeting in person, but we will do that again at some point. But I will go through some of the questions and some of the conversations I'd like to have with you. And then for the participants to participate in terms of asking you questions, I would request everyone to post their questions within the chat below, and then I will ask Puneet on your behalf. So Puneet, to start with, I'd like to talk a little bit about where you grew up and basically what was your motivation to get into the hotel industry in the first place?
Thank you, Gautam. I grew up in Delhi, and like many others in north part of India, especially in a city like Delhi, both sets of parents came from the undivided India at that time, from Lahore and Karachi respectively. And both were the eldest in their families, very dedicated towards helping out their parents in, the education and later the weddings of the rest of the family members. And I was blessed that they sent me to a good school. That's the best one could afford at that point of time.
Yeah.
And very much in school, grade 11 or 12, I took a decision to join hotel business. This was 1980. I finished school in 81. 78, Taj Mansingh opened, and I lived pretty close by. Those days, we did not have many cars. There was only one car in the block where I lived. So we used to just walk down to the hotel to have coffee, and you could have those days as many helpings as you wanted.
Oh.
And it was like the renaissance of coffee shops, maybe in India, and a place called Machan, which still exists.
Yeah.
And so while being there and being interested in doing many other things like sports or dramatics or other activities, I thought this was a very simple way to get onto your feet, start earning some money, and not take more than 3 years to finish at least your qualification in hotel management. And I think that is what the motivation was. Also, partially thanks to all my colleagues in class, they were like just brilliant students. One of the dear friend, she came first in India and all the girls in class 12. So give you kind of a perspective of the quality. Some became bureaucrats, some became doctors, some became engineers. So you name it, you got it. And then I chose, at that time, one could call it the road less traveled, getting into hospitality. Your parents wanted you to be a doctor or a bureaucrat, IAS officer. I thought, no, this is a good fit for me.
Excellent. Then you were out of the country for almost 25 years, working in Europe and parts of North America. Am I right?
Yeah, I was out for a little more than that, 28 plus years. And worked all the time, based out of Europe, but working for America also but the base was Europe.
So I guess in some sense, even that was a very unique experience because you went there as an Indian immigrant. How did you adapt yourself to the European market, and what were some of your experiences there?
It's an interesting one, Gautam. My first trip abroad was to Paris
Yeah.
for MBA studies. I'd never been out of India, and
Oh,
thankfully I got this scholarship. But before that, I think I got a very good foundation in India for the first 5 years. I started with India Tourism Development Corporation, which had that time the Ashok Group of Hotels.
yeah.
Contrary to what others may say today, I think in the post independence era in India, it's the public sector and the government that built the nation and created jobs.
Yeah.
So a lot of esteemed organizations were in the public sector. Now that's a different issue if they served their purpose by end of 80s or 90s. But this is, I'm talking about 84 to 89.
Hmm.
And while in college, we had the opportunity to work for the Asian Games and for the non-aligned meet. And post college, when I joined, we also had the Commonwealth Heads of States meet also in India uh,
Yeah.
in '84. And then a lot of other events that you get exposed to at that time. This is how life worked. And at a very young age, not only did I have the fun working at the Ashok and getting into Prime Minister catering to managing, Vigyan Bhavan and to running the restaurants. And then finally, this trip to Paris was good with an MBA. But during my college days, I'd started learning French and German, French in the morning at
Okay.
and German in the evening at Max Muller.
Yep.
And that was maybe a very good the work experience, the good education coupled with language not being a problem helped me somehow settle down in the European atmosphere, which at that point was very unlike today, because at that point, coming from India, you were like nobody. And
Yeah.
today, at least as they say it in German, is like you start at the Augenhöhe, which means at the eye level. You're not looked down upon if you say you're from India. So
Yeah.
I think that time the language part helped me to integrate in the culture, in the system, make some friends out there, and have a very good 2 years of my master's degree.
Okay. And then what made you return to India after 28 years? I mean, and more importantly, how did you readapt to India? Because, people go for 5 years or 10 years living in Europe or the US, and when they come back, a lot of them have a really hard time adjusting. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
All my life I've been adapting. Going to hotel business was getting to some form of adaptability, because you start, you do everything. You clean the toilets, you make the beds,
Yeah.
you learn how to cook, you learn how to bake. You do all sorts of things that normally some helper was doing at home for you.
Yeah.
Then you start, as I said, in this kind of circumstances and situation and great events, but you're adapting to those too, because at a very young age, you get exposed to the heads of states doing VIP catering, whether it's Fidel Castro or Mrs. Gandhi at that time, to, the Queen Elizabeth coming over. So that's also a part of, not only just gaining experience, but adapting. Uh,
Yeah.
the same thing is when you leave your country, the only place which you have ever been to is India. And then I was 25 when I left, 24 of the 25 years were in Delhi. And you go straight to Paris. And
Yeah.
what a city to get to. One of my favorite cities. All
Mine too.
I
Beautiful.
will remain, right?
Yeah.
So you're adapting to that. The only thing is, it's a very nice version of adaptation, right? So especially if it's your scholarship, even the wine is paid for,
Yeah.
and you're 25, so it's a very nice thing, but very different experience. And then when you start working is an adaptation, because you're not perceived to be like somebody competent in those days. And
Yeah.
later, maybe 10 years later, the tech industry made a big mark, but not before that. And I think if you've never really mentally, morally, and emotionally left India, then coming back is not such a big issue. Having said that, it is still an issue because you come back after 28 years,
Yeah.
come back in a very good position, and there are a lot of expectations, professional, personal. Uh, Suddenly you find many new relatives and many new friends also. So which you don't realize in the beginning, but
Yeah.
slowly you start to realize. And a lot of people want to know you because not what your name is, because you are associated with the name Taj. I would not call it Indian hotels, but it's really Taj, which
Raj.
is an emotion in itself. It's not a brand; it's an emotion, and people want to get to know you. And it's a lot of things happening at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think if you're not like somebody like a new kid on the block. I think over the years and at an age that I came, it was possible to adapt. And there were three reasons that got me back to India. Is I was in discussion for this job in 2013 when, for many reasons, I was not keen to pursue it. But
Mhm.
it was always in my mind, was it the right thing? Should I have done that? Should I have not done it? So when it came the second time around, I was more keen to get it because number one, my mother was falling ill, and I knew I had to come and do something. Getting
Yeah.
to Europe was not a practical idea for a 80-plus-year-old at that age, and with the
Yeah.
language barriers. Number two, I had done my 5 year stint at Deutsche Hospitality, the Steigenberg Hotels AG that you mentioned, and that was the years I had in mind to do that job. I could have got extended another 3, 4, 5 years, but that was not my aspiration or objective. And finally, I was always, thinking, having worked in my job before Carlson, 6.5 years in consulting, I'd worked with most prominent brands of the world. And I always used to wonder if there was an opportunity, if I could make a difference to a brand from the country where I was born and raised.
Yeah.
So that aspiration was there always. And when this came up, I was very pleased. And till date, I'm much more than pleased. At that time, I was pleased. Today, I'm very content
More than pleased.
to have had this opportunity, as I've been quoted often saying that when you serve the Taj, you serve the nation. And it's just been a very good journey.
No, no, absolutely. When I look at some of the numbers and I was going through the deck, and what I found is, some literally amazing things that you've done. For the 10 years prior to you coming on board, the Indian hotel stock never rose above 150 or 160 at best in terms of absolute price. But under your tenure, the stock price has gone up 6.5 times in 7 years, that is. And it's gone as high as 850 rupees. It's a little below that at this point. But the fact is, this is, I think, the eighth Tata company to have ever crossed 1 lakh crore in terms of market cap. So, congratulations on that front. You steered the company from a loss of 52 crores in FY17 to a record profit of 1,600 crores for the year ended 31st of March 2025. So when I look at some of these numbers, I'm going to read some of these numbers out for the benefit of the audience. You had a record year for Indian Hotels, best ever fourth quarter, best ever full year numbers. Between FY17 and FY25, the EBITDA has grown 4x. Your margins have more than doubled. EBITDA margins have more than doubled to 35%. Your PAT, as I already said, has gone from a negative to a positive 1,600 crores. Your free cash flow generations increased 58 times. My God. And your operational rooms have grown 61%. So how did you pull all this off? I mean, for somebody who'd been out of the country for so long, more than hit the ground running. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
I think first of all, you need to have a team.
Yeah.
The team plays well together. Anything that you aspire for is possible. Second, you need to have a clear vision from the board, from the group leadership. And there we have been very blessed to have group chairman guiding us, because I think from a business performance point of view, he's been absolutely the best that I have come across.
Yeah.
The third thing is your own people and your own DNA, which we define as Tajness, which is a part of our culture. And we actually took time very early in uh, in 2017 itself, November, December, when I started. And then by February 2018, we announced our complete roadmap till 2022, and thereafter till 2025, and now till 2030, but always keeping the culture in mind. And then we defined Taj as T for trust,
Yeah.
a trust of all our stakeholders, and A for awareness of what's happening around you, and especially in the community, in lines with Tata values, and J for joy. So, joy in doing whatever we do, celebrating each small success, uh, you know. And we actually quoted it saying, celebrating our success and cultivating our future. So I think all this we did, but very simply, what we did was we created a top leadership team
Yeah.
of the people who were there. There was nobody who got changed. It's not
Oh,
that we got 10 new people in or 20 new people in, not even one new person came in that top leadership team. But we did communicate, and communicate. Verbal, non-verbal meetings. And every quarter, we had the leadership team meet.
yeah.
Quarter, the focus was culture. The following strategy, then again culture, and then again strategy. We did very well for 9 consecutive quarters, and we were very happy, and we thought we were rocking. And then came COVID. Then we got derailed for 6 quarters, like anybody else in the sector globally. But we did not stop there. In those 6 quarters, we kept our culture and strategy going, so
Yeah.
that when COVID was over, we came back with even much bigger, bigger bang or elan or whatever you want to call it. And then we just grew exponentially in all areas. And as some of my colleagues call it, like we call it building a growth mindset. Growth mindset is different than just growing the dots on the map or just growing the portfolio. It's growth of revenue, growth of people. And
Yeah.
people growth was our focus. So people started growing, and they automatically grew the company. So I think the the key for us, because we are a people-centric business, we are not just capital intensive, but we are a people intensive business. And
Yeah.
if your people are happy, your customers are happy. And if your people are growing, your business automatically starts growing. And actually, for the audience, would be interesting, Gautam, how often when we got to know each other, how often I disagreed with
Yeah.
you about the experiences of one or the other friends of yours, which I thought, and I knew the details were a bit exaggerated, and I said, no way, we are not accepting it. So, and that's the proof is there today. So I think all in all, it's as a people's business, it's the people who make the difference, and you look after your people, the rest, all 100% will not follow, but if you can get 70, 80%
Yeah.
in the right direction, you've already won.
Yeah.
You
No,
cannot.
absolutely. I think that's the culture shift, and it starts right at the top, because that's really what I've seen across organizations, across companies globally, not just in India. No question. The one other thing which I think has surprised a lot of us, when we look at spending by Indian consumers, especially the urban Indian, we're not seeing any great volume growth in, for example, FMCG. I mean, we saw the numbers for the last quarter. Unilever, 2.4% volume growth. Dabur, flat. So, people aren't spending there. If you look at the quick service restaurants, whether it's Burger King, whether it's McDonald's, so with the exception of maybe Jubilant, which is the Domino's pizza brand, everything else seems to be struggling and, having literally flat to very tepid growth. What's happened to Indians that they're traveling like never before post-COVID? What do you think is driving that?
There are lots of things that are happening. Post-COVID, globally, people are traveling more, although more regionally and domestic.
Yeah.
When you've been this close to devastation, then you always have any important event, let's say even a terror attack that happens. I called COVID also a kind of a terror attack because a pandemic, a virus is also some form of attack on mankind, right?
Yeah.
Or a 9/11 happens. Certain things change permanently. So I think we were in the process of that change, but the change got accelerated. One reason why people are traveling is that people never really ventured out, started driving on their own in the percentage that it is happening today. But during COVID, a fear was inculcated that better not get your chauffeur, driver, etc. And what happens on the roads. People actually went on family holidays, and we came up with a great promotion called Dream, Drive, Discover, and Delight, the 4D thing.
Oh,
And some of that has stayed on. So maybe not all of it, but let's say even if one third of it stayed on. So there's a lot of millions and millions of room nights that have got added because of that. Number two, as a growing economy with a good GDP growth, with a lot of interest coming from business communities, a lot of travel is also happening because of that. There are new opportunities getting created. There's new infrastructure spent. There are new roads. There is new, train stations coming up.
yeah.
I think India has placed the largest order with the three airlines of 1,200 or
That's right.
1,500 new aircrafts,
Yeah.
with more than 1,000 just Air India and Indigo alone. So a lot more is happening, which is creating that travel infrastructure. So certain things that we define when we talk about demand and supply, we call something as latent demand. Maybe that demand was always there, but could not be capitalized upon because the infrastructure was missing. Now that the infrastructure has come, the disposable income is there, then the YOLO effect, or Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara kind of thing, that people want to travel, people
Yeah.
want to experience. And you know what? This is only going to keep increasing. Either the theory will hold that India becomes number three or number four and stays stabilized there as the power in the world.
Yeah.
Then that's the economic power. The other attributes of economic power will come, which means more spend on luxury goods, more spend on discretionary items, which includes travel, hospitality. And more feel good factor. You're not going to save like the generation before did, post partition or later, where you kept saving for education of your children or wedding of
That's
your
right.
kids. A little bit will be there. It's not that it's going to go away, but the allocation will change. It's like a capital allocation on personal front.
Yeah.
In your personal balance sheet versus the corporate balance sheet. So that allocation of capital is changing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think what you do here, is the cost of a holiday within India has gone up significantly in, I think, the last 5 years, at least definitely since post-COVID. So, a lot of Indians that I know are or friends say, my God, it's cheaper to go to Vietnam than to go to Goa. Might still be true if you add everything up, including the airfare. So, here's the thing. I'm hearing about a lot of hotel companies, global hotel companies, setting up or having ambitious plans in terms of adding to the supply of hotels. So, for example, I remember reading recently, Hyatt has announced they will add 100 new hotels over the next 5 years. Hilton said, we will take the number of hotels which currently are at 32 in India, 10x to 300 over the next 10 years. So One is the cost element of Indians grappling with the ever rising cost of a vacation or holiday in India. At the same time, you're seeing a lot of hotel companies, including you guys, adding significantly more rooms. Do you see, as a result, your RevPAR and overall cost of a holiday in India hopefully correcting?
I I don't think so. Firstly, I don't agree that the cost of holiday in India is more expensive. It's only certain times of the year. So
Yeah,
if you are doing it between November and Christmas, New Year, it is expensive. But
yeah,
it's not expensive throughout the year because I have lived abroad. It's out of my own experience. So some of those costs are possibly exaggerated because our expectations in India, you know, if you want to stay at the Taj or
mm,
Taj Exotica in Goa, because you talked about Goa,
yeah,
and you want to go to Vietnam and stay in another upscale brand, then there is a differential in cost.
mm,
It's a very simple thing.
yeah,
So in India, we expect that kind of luxury hotel supply. One can go on the web live and check. There are very decent hotels in all these leisure destinations at pretty affordable prices. Even now, in the middle of what I would call the school vacation period,
yeah,
$150 or so, I don't think you can get anything for $150 in upscale or upper upscale anywhere, whether Thailand or Vietnam also.
yeah,
Second, maybe the audience doesn't like it, but somehow we tend to complain a lot. It's a kind of, chai pe charcha, if I may say so.
yeah,
This is the government is doing this, or the cricketer, this guy should have played, this guy should not have played, this one should have come up the order, this one should have come down the order. So it's a similar discussion around hotel companies and charging more or less. If we looked at dollar pricing,
yeah,
even where dollar is reached, it's very, very low. The increase is actually negative
mm,
versus what it used to be at some point of time. 2003, 4, 5, 6. If you take Bangalore at average rates of $400,
yeah,
$400 with today's conversion rate is like it's never going to happen. So it's the increase is negative after so many years. Now, if we take it into Indian rupee pricing,
mm,
take the average increase in rates over the last 20 years, it's maybe in line with inflation or even lower. I haven't done that maths, but it would seem to be that what I'm saying is on the right track.
mm,
Yes, the rate correction has happened, but it always happens like this, that there are periods when you show your charts of how markets have developed. It's not a straight line up. It goes up and down, and then you draw a line. It shows where you are going. Similarly, if you did that with the hotel rates, it will show good increase. But more than the rates, I think we are very blessed on the Indian subcontinent to have a very strong food and beverage business. It's not just the hotel room rates. And this year, for example, there are 15 additional wedding dates, which we call the Saya dates. And
yeah,
the wedding business is huge in India. And as long as we have that, and I don't think it's going anywhere, also the rooms get filled, and the wedding is a big social gathering, and
yeah,
that also drives a lot of your domestic demand and business. And people are in that mood to spend and celebrate than to just keep saving. So I think from what I can see, the demand is going to keep outpacing the supply.
mm,
As supply at some point will catch up, but that point is not round the corner. The next 2, 3 years, I don't see. So whatever supply is coming in is coming
yeah,
in new markets. It's coming in where new airports are being built. The number of airports is getting doubled.
yeah,
It's coming in tier two, tier three markets, which are opening up. So a lot is happening in different markets. I don't know of too many hotels being built in the city you and I live in Mumbai or in this part
that's
of
right.
the town. We are in South Mumbai.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm aware of any hotel being built here. There's no supply getting added, right? But the demand is increasing.
Yeah.
Uh, so let's see. I think if you compare Mumbai, Delhi with their partner cities abroad, we are still at 20, 30, max 40% of the average achieved rates there. We may
Mm.
never get to 100, but I think 40 to 60% is a good range to target for.
Here's a data point which one of my analysts actually dug up, which I found a little on the higher side, but you might be a better judge of this. So there's a database called Hotelivate. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one, but it says about 80 to 85% of India's hotel inventory is still unbranded. Is that right? And if that is so, what is the opportunity set for players like you, where you can actually, like what you've done recently with the Fountain Hotel in Mahabaleshwar? So is that an opportunity instead of new hotels coming up, but taking over existing properties and rebranding them?
Of course, we do that all the time, and you give
Yeah.
one example. A lot of consolidation will happen in the sector.
Yeah.
But many times, this data is a bit tweaked in the sense sometimes you don't really count brands as brands which are not considered internationally as a brand. They may be a local brand, a
Yeah.
very good one, but it is true of most of the countries. It's not that, with the exception of US, US has a strong branded supply percentage,
Correct.
possibly more than 80%. And in the mid market is almost all driven by Asian American hoteliers, and another 80% of those have the last name Patel. So I think it's a very America centric thing.
Yeah.
But there are lots of small operators which are regional operators, and there is an opportunity for them to partner.
Yeah.
There is an opportunity for us as a largest hospitality ecosystem to partner with them.
Yeah.
And we are continuously exploring, and we have done so. I mean, very recently, when we acquired the majority in Tree of Life, is not a brand we created.
Yeah.
Acquired that stake is hardly like, 4, 5, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And that's a good example of that. The fountain in Mahabaleshwar you gave as a single asset is another good example of that.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is happening. One of our trophy, I would call it, India's trophy asset, not just ours, is Siddharth the Goa. It's
Yeah.
been there for ages, and they built a new property which we call the Horizon wing, and the one below is the Heritage, because that's how it existed.
Yeah.
It's one of the most beautiful convention spots in India, thanks to the Timblo family. And that got branded with us. So there is a lot of such opportunities that are there, and we always carefully select, because one of the things which is very nice, I think one of the strengths of Tata Group companies is we don't look at just a few quarters, we look at it for generations, or ideally 50 years, 100 years, who you choose, who you partner with. And mostly we get it right. There are exceptional cases where things change and evolve, which always happens in life, but I think whatever is an ideal fit, we of course go deeper into those partnerships, and it's worked very, very well for us.
No, I think just let me give you some feedback that would be interesting, and I want to share it with the audience as well. So, my neighbor, who's actually a very dear friend, and he's a doctor, so he and his wife left this afternoon for Mahabaleshwar and checked into the fountain. And so I called him about an hour before we started this call, and I said, "How was the experience?" He said, you're doing this call this evening with Puneet, so do tell him that the experience is fantastic. And I'm not saying this to just because we're doing this call. So he said he's in the heritage wing, and he says he's got a view of the Koina Valley, which is stunning. And I said, how's the food? Okay, that's the hotel. How was the food? So he says the food is exceptional. They had the Maharashtrian tiffin, and he says it was just a phenomenal experience. So please tell Puneet. So I thought might as well tell you in front of everyone that it's been a great experience for him.
Thank you for sharing, because I have not been there. So that is an encouragement for me to go there also.
Now, the one question which a lot of people ask me to ask you, it's invariable given what's happened 2 weeks ago between our neighbor and us in terms of the conflict. How much of that impact is going to impact not just, I mean, the hotel industry, but inbound tourism, even including within India, are people getting less so concerned about, and this is peak tourist season. So, I mean, is that really going to impact the hotel industry, you think?
We did have an impact for 10 days or so with 32 airports shut.
Yeah.
And a lot of those locations we have our presence in there. But generally speaking, with the pickup that has come in business is very much as if nothing happened. We guided in our call for the Q4 results that April was 17% ahead on the top line versus April last year, because last year was code of conduct and extreme
Yeah.
heat wave in most of the country. May is also trending above May of last year, despite having this 10, 12 days of uncertainty
Yeah.
and almost like a war situation.
Yeah.
But the business on the books for the rest of the month in June is very good. And I can give a lot of examples. I mean, we had our own annual business conference in Goa,
Mhm.
which was planned for this month, and we just moved it to July because all the challenges around the airport of Double M. It's restricted in terms of when you can land, when you can take off. Uh,
Yeah.
and of course, MOPA is also there, but we cannot have 600 people attending an event
Yeah.
and having this uncertainty what happens.
Yeah.
Similarly, like I'm an active member of CII. We have our annual business meet, and the AGM, which was planned for 12th, 13th of May, is now happening on 29th and 30th of
That's
May.
right.
Same venue, same city, Taj Palace, New
Yeah.
Delhi, the venue. So a lot of things have, this has created like a pent-up demand or a shift in demand from
Yeah.
those 10 days to later part. But definitely we would have been hurt more had the foreign tourist arrival momentum been there, especially which is October to March,
Yeah.
as these are not the months when you really have foreign tourist arrivals. But yes, foreign delegations of visits of heads of states. But
Yeah.
again, you get rescheduled, so it's not that it's going away. Uh, but yes, there was a significant drop for those 10 days, and any unnecessary travel. We also gave guidance to our own people internally. Please don't travel unless you have to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You
Just
know, interestingly, I just got back from the States, spent 3 weeks there, and I was right in the middle of it was right in the middle of the conflict. I was actually in Yellowstone National Park, and where there's virtually no mobile service unless you have Verizon, and again, that's patchy. The hotel I stayed in, for some stupid reason, didn't have any Wi-Fi, though it was a nice hotel, but they didn't have any Wi-Fi. But so whatever information I was able to get, the interesting part is the week after when I went to New York and I spoke to friends there, surprisingly, or fortunately, should I say, the news coverage by the US media, it might be different in Europe, but the US media was minimal. And it was overshadowed by the first American ever to become the Pope, Donald Trump and his tariff issues, and his upcoming visit to the Middle East. So the good news is this conflict was overshadowed by local news. And I just hope that ends up not, ends up being positive for the country and not negative. And if you've seen foreign flows as well, I think they haven't really been disturbed as a result of this conflict. So I just am happy that it really didn't get much media coverage. I think what I would like to do is open it up for questioning. And as I said earlier, people, please start putting your questions on the chat, and I'll be more than happy to ask you these questions, ask Puneet the questions. Now, the one question that's already come in from my friend Bimal is hotels in India have seen deflation in the average room rates from 2007, 2008 till maybe 21, 22. The question is, what is your expectation going forward? Will the rates keep going up longer, at least compared to inflation?
Well, I did answer that before, that
You
in
did.
rupee terms, the trend is higher. But if you take the dollar in 2007, I don't know whether it was 30 or 40 rupees,
Yeah.
and today it's maybe double. So that is very difficult. The currency exchange, that I cannot predict in dollar terms, but in rupee terms, for sure it will keep going up and definitely exceed the inflation level.
Yeah. The other question that's come in directly on my email, I wanna ask this. With respect to foreign tourist arrivals, they haven't 100% recovered to pre-COVID levels. What do you make of that? And what can India do to bring in more tourists? I mean, it's embarrassing to say that we've got so much to showcase to the world, and we only get around 10 million or 11 million tourists, which is pathetic.
Which is a very interesting one, Gautam. We don't even get 10 or 11, but for the statistics, it's 10 or 11.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people, Indian diaspora, which has
coming
a
back.
passport,
Yeah,
and they are OCI or PIO card holders, and they get counted in this amount. Then also, there was a significant number of people coming from Bangladesh, which got counted in it. So your real relevant tourist arrivals, relevant for the hospitality sector, is less than half that number.
oh,
Now, that is an opportunity also, because that number could grow by, like we had our cash flow,
yeah,
grow by 58x. Maybe this can grow by at least 18x or 8x at least, easily over a like 5 to 10 to 15-year period. And I think it will. It's not that it will not. There are things that we need to do both as a sector, but also the government. The government needs to make sure that we are a bit more competitive. Unfortunately, airlines and hospitality and these sectors are highly taxed. Not all states and union territories have given the industry status. Uh,
yeah,
the infrastructure status would help individual hotel owners to get cheaper loans, so they will be building more. And when you build more, you address different market segments and different needs and wants, various customer segments. So obviously, it will increase your reach. Certain things like GST alignment, you eat in a restaurant like a great restaurant in Mumbai, which is
mhm,
not in a hotel, you pay 5%, and if you have in a hotel, it's 18% GST. So there are lots of such things which can be done and are being done. It would be fair to say that many states have implemented the industry status, and the infrastructure status was also announced by Honorable Finance Minister in a budget speech for the new destinations that would be developed in collaboration with the states and the sector. So I
yeah,
think a lot is in the making, but we are not there yet. It's just started. So
sure.
what can the sector do? I can give you one example. 2 years ago at the IATO convention in Bhopal, we announced that Taj will spend, in excess of 25 CR over 3 years to promote and help the travel agents and others to bring in their guests to our events, to the India evening at the ITB in Berlin or at the WTM in London or the recently concluded Arabian Travel Month, which is the ATM in Dubai.
Yeah,
So a lot of these efforts we are making together with the sector, but we need to spend a bit more money internationally. I think G20 was one of the best marketing campaigns for us, for the country, where the pictures went throughout the world. So I think that was great. India's active participation in all G7 summits, etc., is also very helpful. It sends good, positive images. All our mission on the sun or landing on the south pole of the moon is all this is
yeah,
great news, which is being positively spread, but there is a lot more that can be done on Buddhist circuit, attracting more Japanese, more
Yeah.
people to the Sun Temple, more and more people coming back to the palaces, which is a speciality of India. We also call them the living legacies of the Taj. And we
Yeah.
have everything. We have the best of the mountain ranges. We have the such a big coastline, so many beaches and so
Yeah.
many temples. So there is a lot to offer for each and every segment, and it will come. It's just, I think we have a time lag in this sector of 10 to 15 years, but it can be bridged very fast. Just like India grew from maybe number 10 or 15 to number 5 and now to number 4 economy. I think similarly our tourist arrivals are going to keep increasing.
Sure. The other question that just came in is, where do you see high-end supply in the next 3 years? Is it in the, sorry, where do you see high supply in the next 3 years? Is it in the luxury segment or the upper mid-scale?
Upper mid-scale in terms of numbers, that is where the supply is. That is where you have, at least if you say India's 1.4 billion people, only 700 or 800 million are relevant for hotel business and hotel overnights. Of that, you can easily assume 70%, which is 500 to 600 million people going forward, would be the ones using mid-scale, upper mid-scale, or budget accommodation, which will be like the way people would travel and use. That does not mean luxury will not grow, but we are coming from a background where hotels were only luxury.
Yeah.
Today, less than 10% of the total supply is luxury, and non-luxury, which includes all the segments I mentioned, upscale, is more than 90%. So I think those segments will keep growing, but luxury was, is, and will remain the key image driver, the soft
Yeah.
power of hotel business and hotel brands from India.
Here's an interesting question that's come, Puneet. What are the innovative ways in which Taj is capitalizing on their excellent brand? For example, sometime back, Taj lent their brand for prestigious apartments being built by a builder in Bangalore. Is that true? I mean, I didn't know that.
No, we have this brand, Gautam, called Taj Wellington Mews.
Yes.
And we had one very successful operation in Mumbai for many, many years. A
Okay.
few years ago, with Tata Reality, we opened in Chennai, which is doing phenomenally well.
Yeah.
Then we had signed one in Bangalore, and very recently, actually, in Ras Al Khaimah, we signed another Taj Wellington Mews. We do these things very carefully. It's not that it's not difficult or it's difficult to scale them up, but it's like one at a time and in key metros, and also with the right partners.
Yeah.
So being on our own was not really the model which we prefer. We prefer to build with an owner who would build and we would operate, except for very compelling investments like we've always done and will continue to do, which
Yeah.
is building both the nation as well as building new destinations, which Taj has very successfully done in the last 50, 70 years. So that is very different, but the rest, we prefer to do it with a partner. And the Bangalore project has not taken off as yet.
Oh,
But but Russell Khama seems to be on a very strong fast track.
so here's a very interesting question. Somebody who's just come back from the US is talking about hotels in the US, and I'm sure he's referring to Vegas to some extent, where you have hotels that have 1,000 rooms plus. And but his point is interesting. He said that tourist arrival, or at least for destination weddings, and I was earlier this year in Amritsar, where the hotel we stayed in had, I think, maybe 150 rooms, and they had to book 3 hotels or 4 hotels to accommodate all the guests. So is a concept of 1,000 room or 1,000 room, even maybe beyond 1,000 room single hotel, a practical idea in India? And when people have these destination weddings, you can accommodate everybody in the same hotel versus being spread across the city.
Absolutely. It's not that we don't have hotels up to 700, 800 rooms. There are some that are there, but very few of them. We need more of them. We will be opening, within the Bangalore International Airport, just with BIAL, we would
Yeah.
be opening 1,150 rooms. We already have almost 400 with the Taj at the airport. And we are doing a combo hotel with them, which is 400 rooms Vivanta and 350 Ginger in the same building. So that
Oh,
gives you 1,150 rooms at the airport just with our company. And
wow.
at the entrance of the Bangalore airport, we're also doing another gateway property. So, gateway branded, which is another north of 200 rooms.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of these things that are happening. As I said, there is a time lag of 10, 15 years, but when our development of bandstand goes through, we would have almost 1,000 rooms opposite each other.
Opposite each other. What is your timeline for that reopening bandstand?
Minimum is 4 years and
Okay.
maximum is six. So it's 4 to 6. We have two approvals that are pending. We
Yeah.
hope to get them before the end of the year, and then so we can start construction. But it's not an easy site to construct. So it's
Yeah.
going to take at least 3.5 years. So if everything went fine in the next 6 months, we have all the approvals, it's 4 years. If there was some lag somewhere and some weather issues or other building issues, then it goes to maybe another year or year and a half on top of it.
Interesting. Um, we spoke briefly the other day about cumin. And what are your grander, bigger plans? Because given the footprint that you already have in India, is it natural to assume that you can roll out cumin in every city that you already have a Taj? Or well, I don't mean a Taj property necessarily. It could be a Vivanta, it could be a Ginger. But is that something that can be much bigger in the next few years?
I I hope so. I wish so because Cumin is born during COVID times
Yeah.
on 25th of May, 2020, where people worked remotely and created an app and all this home delivery business, including the packaging.
Yeah.
But very interestingly, post-COVID, we call it the humanization of ginger. The
Mm.
all-day dining of all the ginger hotels is slowly getting converted into a cumin restaurant. At the
Oh,
same time, Big Basket is doing their dark stores, this delivery in 10 minutes
yeah.
using the cumin platform in the city of Bangalore. That's where we have started the pilot.
Oh,
So cumin is close to 150 crores in GMV, which nobody would have thought is possible, 3, 4, 5 years ago. We've started this brand with zero upfront capital investment, and now we are providing the right marketing and tools and the monies to convert the existing all-day dining of Ginger into human branded restaurants,
yeah.
which is also very little, hardly any capital, but there is capital going in. So I think over the next 5 years, even if we did nothing new, this could grow into a very big business because ginger is growing rapidly. The second is on the airports. TFS has opened 3 outlets for us on a franchise model.
Yeah.
That is done very well. So we think TFS is encouraged to do, much more with us. And then we are now contemplating doing cumin, on important highways. If at the exit for a gas station, like you have in the US or in the
Yeah.
rest of Europe, you could have one of those dining places, ideally in a commercial district along those important highways. So you benefit both from the business park as well
Mm.
as from the people traveling wanting to take a break. So you put a small ginger branded hotel with a cumin next to it. Um,
Sure.
as like a QSR going forward.
Yeah. We know the one question that's come in, and you partly answered that, but in terms of the cost of a holiday in India, but this is from the foreign perspective. My question was more towards the Indian in India, finding some of the properties starting to get expensive. But the question is, have we outpriced ourselves for foreign tourists, especially when we compare ourselves to Thailand and even some of the developed nations?
I did answer that before. In
Yeah.
certain parts of the year, in certain times of the year, we have
Right.
not outpriced ourselves. We should be proud that the paying power of a lot of people in India has increased so much that they can pay more than the foreigners be willing to pay, and that's a healthy challenge to have, and something to feel good about that people have so much money. Then again, as I said, it is by brand, by luxury, or I doubt very much if we were to open a hotel in one of these Southeast Asian leisure destinations, if it would be cheaper than the one we have in the leisure destinations in India. So I don't share that opinion. Yes, there is other challenges. I mentioned taxes on hospitality, but airlines is the same. A ticket, when I used to live in Frankfurt or in
Yeah.
Brussels, my ticket to Lufthansa, with Lufthansa to Bangkok, was
Mm.
cheaper than the one to Delhi and Mumbai in the same time of the year, if you even got a seat.
Yeah.
So it's a demand supply issue, and not at all times of the year is the same thing.
I have one final question, and that's, a lot of people have asked me to ask you this with respect to your vision of where you'd like to see Indian hotels in the next 5 to 10 years. And one of the things that I think we briefly discussed the other day was that one of the investors who I met in New York last week said exactly this. He said, in a country like India, where the total market capitalization is now $5.2 trillion, why is it that the biggest hotel company has a market cap of only 12 billion? So, it circles back to what we discussed about the number of single properties which are unbranded. And it's a bit like PVR, Inox movie theaters, and then you have the single screens which are totally unbranded. So, uh, what's your vision of where Indian hotels, where would you like to see Indian hotels in the next 5 to 10, say 5 years, and then 10 years, of course, is blue sky, but say in 5 years.
Gautam, I don't want to, give any guidance on market cap. What we have given guidance on is our strategy, which is Accelerate 2030.
Yeah.
We want to get to 700 hotels, of which at least 500 would be in operation. Like today, we have 130 hotels in pipeline. I think if we grow and at a portfolio of around 380 plus, getting close to 400 now. Uh,
Yeah.
so getting these additional 300 hotels, that we will double our enterprise level revenue, double the size of the portfolio, as I said, and we have given a guidance of return on capital employed of 20%, which today, the last financial year stood a little above 17%. And we will achieve that through various growth initiatives that we have. We'll achieve that through a very good capital allocation. We are today debt free. We have cash sitting on our balance sheet, which positions us very well for any kind of acquisitions, conversions, single unit, multi
Yeah.
unit, which we have been doing. I mean, we built many hotels which have either opened, like Ginger Mumbai Airport, was built from our internal accruals. We are building two in Ekta Nagar, Ginger and Vivanta, which is also known as Kevadia, where the Statue of Unity is, with
Oh,
our own money, and we're
wow.
still, net debt free.
Yeah.
So I think, and mostly what we say is, we promise, we deliver, and we preferably deliver a few percentage points, ideally 10% or more than what we had promised, and in
Yeah.
10% less time.
Sure.
So that is the consistent language narrative that we have used for the last 7, 8 years. And in the next 5 years, I see no reason why we should not do what we have promised. And the good thing about being listed is every quarter you have a report card and you can see whether you're on track or not.
That's right. Exactly. Great. Thank you so much, Puneet, for taking the time and talking to us. It's been a pleasure talking to you and listening to your vision. The way you've transformed this company. And I think that 6.5 times move from the low is only the start. I think we've got a lot more left in terms of steam from the company. So wishing you all the best.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the audience to join us for this interesting chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.